Hi guys, it is 7:09 p.m. on Wednesday, the 131st day I'm doing this. Here is your daily dose of hope. And to be honest, my stomach is not the happiest with me right now, but I think it's because I really am shifting a lot of things. Deep rooted things is how it honestly feels. But I attended a webinar on ADHD. I think it was 2 days ago, maybe yesterday. I can't remember at the moment. But it was just really good for me, like my brain, to hear that these things that I've started doing because I don't know what else to do type of thing, not because I'm like, super struggling, because I'm trying to optimize my life, right? Is the things that they recommend doing anyway. So, I'm really excited ultimately about, okay, this is how I can, another way I can change my lifestyle moving forward that is just going to make my life feel more corralled, like in control. And I just have to remind the part of my brain that wants to be spontaneous that when you have structure and when you have a schedule, it actually allows you to be way more spontaneous because things are accounted for. So if I know that, time for activity like exercise is accounted for at let's say 5 o'clock or something, then, let's say my daughter wants to do something in the middle of the day or something like that, or I do. And if the brain's like, well, no, because when are we going to exercise? It's like, no, that's accounted for. So that's really exciting for me personally because my brain is kind of like a racehorse. And even if I try to, restrain it, it still drains that energy and I get like nothing done. So I would rather work in these short bursts and be really productive and really effective, and move that needle forward and remind myself, like, I guess, some people, depending on what supports they have, what child, like what background they have, like seriously, like how they naturally are wired. It's just like this all day, right? So it doesn't really matter. But for me, it's like, I think I'm kind of a morning person is kind of what I figured out because, being a mom, I kind of have to be anyway. So I think that's kind of the time to capitalize on. And let's say I'm like, okay, for the first 3 hours of the day, this is what I'm going to like really focus on. I know myself and I know that like whatever those categories are, like once I get in the routine of it, whatever those categories are, I'm going to be much more effective during that time versus to say, okay, today I'm going to like clean all day, because it just doesn't work. It can work, but it's just not nearly for me as effective. And it disproportionately wears me out, right? So then it creates more resistance the next time. So anyway, I'm just really grateful for more information, especially from like other sources, because the more, like I said, that I accidentally cross-reference the same information, the more it's really overriding the programming. That being said, today's quote is, mistakes are proof that you are trying. And, I would even, slightly change it and say, redirections are proof that you're trying. So if you're trying something and you get redirected, it means you're trying something, right? Like you're moving in some direction in order to get redirected. So the only way we, I think, lose is by staying still if we don't want to. If we want to change our life and we stay completely still, we're actually just going backwards because we're not wanting to do that, But any step, we always say forward, but like any step is action. And then if you get redirected based on the action, that's still more progress than not taking an action. I think this is really starting to sink in for me, which is really exciting. So that being said, I think I'm going to go to bed early tonight, and I did my energy stuff today, and I noticed the difference. So I have to remind myself that's good for me. And I'm working on my kitchen, like organizing it, and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, like my brain is like getting so happy here. Like that stuff actually does matter. And that's what the person was saying in the webinar, is to have like a to-do list with like 2 or 3 things max, but then you go further and you take one of the tasks off of the to-do list and you put it on a post-it. And the post-it is like what I'm doing right now. And what I love about this is because, transition time for our brains can take a long time. So when we get interrupted, when we get distracted, now we have to go like, okay, what was I doing? And we take mental energy, chronological time, effort to figure out what was I doing. Then shame comes in of like, oh my gosh, why can't I just get back on track? So the post-it acts of when you get distracted, then you're like, what was I doing? You have an external thing that's right there that's like, oh, that's what I was doing. Okay. And then anything that comes either, internally or externally, you categorize it. And it's basically like either it's not important anyway, so it's sort of like a waste of time, or it is important, but it's not what you're doing right now. And it's actually important to stay focused, like set the timer, and during that timer, you stay focused on what you're doing right now, unless that new thing actually is more urgent. And that really hit home for me of feeling like, but not just feeling like, but actively like people all pulling at the same time, and me feeling like I can't focus on any one thing. I can't get any one thing done, or it doesn't feel like it. Well, it's because it's true, because that time the brain takes to transition and then to reorient to what was I doing, that eats up a lot of time and a lot of mental energy. So that by the time we're actually then going back to that actual task, our brains are like done for the day, right? They're like, okay, this is too hard. So it's just like, I said, it's just really good for me, for my own brain, like meta knowledge, to hear that like that's a tactic, that's a strategy that successful people use that works, and I can see exactly why, it works. And it reminds me that, like my motto I'm trying to do is like whatever works. But it does help anytime you're like, oh, okay, this is something that, people are using that is helpful. So that being said, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. But I just want to say I love you guys, and you are the sky. So you were here yesterday, you're here today, and you'll be here tomorrow. You deserve to be here, even when you don't feel good, even when you don't feel productive, right? Like, even if you feel like you've had a bad day, right? You deserve to be here, just like everybody deserves to be here. But, some people need to hear that directly, because maybe we were never told that. And I hope you have a wonderful night. Love you guys.